Time now to welcome our first guest, who's got a keen interest in that film. It's Joe Wicks. Hi, Joe.
How you doing? Welcome to the show,
So
Joe.
nice
Thank
to see you.
Thanks for always inviting me on. I appreciate, the sofa spot. Thank you.
Oh, no, it's lovely to have you. And you saw that film before you came on. Ryan and Ava have come a really long way, haven't they?
Yeah, and what I loved about that was the approach to it as a holistic approach, seeing the whole family, understanding what's really happening with the parents, mental health, and, it affects so much. So, yeah, I think getting into that and really unravelling a few things is going to get them in the right direction and hopefully educate, not just the child, but the whole family to get active, to start cooking a little bit more and doing the basics, you know.
Well, it falls nicely into why you're here, Joe, actually, and why we're talking to you, because, for your latest project, that also takes a wider approach, doesn't it? A lot of the time, I think, you're having conversations with parents, but on this occasion, you're kind of trying to educate, kids from a younger age so that their habits start a lot sooner.
Yeah, well, I've obviously done a lot of work with young children in schools, and I'm so passionate. I'm a parent to 3 kids, and I know how important it is to be the role model and to encourage them to understand about their bodies and exercise and how food affects our mood and mental health. So the book's called Fitter, Healthier, Happier, get it out. And it's aimed at, it's like a guide to understanding about the body and the mind, aimed at children sort of 6 to 12 years old, to really understand, what happens in the body around, muscular system, the skeletal system, the heart and lungs, how it changes during exercise, and then combining that with nutrition, tips on, healthy eating and little sort of tips around, ideas to fuel the body, essentially. And then the final chapter is all about the... Can't speak today. Final chapter is about the mind. Yeah, it's about the mind, so sort of dealing with negative emotions, feelings of anxiety, and how to overcome that. So it's really a nice sort of holistic approach. There's quizzes, some fun challenges, and some workouts, and it's really about getting kids thinking and talking and learning about the body. It's such an important thing to teach them at a young age, I think.
Yeah, and good habits as well, isn't it, from a young age? I mean, we were talking earlier, and I'm quite a taskmaster. I force the children to go out and do exercise. But of course, the older the children get, the harder it gets to encourage exercise if they're not that way inclined. You know, PE, you said, changed your life. So how would you help other children, other parents then, to encourage their children if it's a bit of a struggle?
Well, I'm the same as you in a sense that, it's my responsibility to get my kids active, and if they had it their own way, my little daughter loves Disney movies. She'll watch Disney Plus all day long, and my little boy loves the PlayStation, and, they get a little bit of that time, but if it was their way, they'd be on it all the time. So I have to say, come on, let's get in the garden and kick the ball about. Let's do a little bit of pad work on the boxing gloves and things, because you've got to be the role model. You've got to be the one that actually gets them going, because they just don't necessarily want to do it themselves. No. I know it's going to get harder as they become teenagers because they can be more resistant, but I think getting it in there when they're young and being an active family on the weekends, maybe, even if it's one day a week where you just go for a bike ride or a walk, this means something. So I think keep challenging that, keep trying to push fitness and exercise as a family. I think they learn so much from the role modelling.
Right. Food.
Oh, this is a big one. Yeah.
I've got one of these, right? One of these 7-year-olds that only wants to eat pizza and chicken nuggets. Yeah. I said to Alex before, any other meal, it's like a bush took a trial in my house. She won't eat anything. What do you do for those kids? Because they're I try everything, and it's really tough to break down.
It's difficult, and it's also so common. You're not alone, because kids will sometimes they'll love something, and then a few weeks later they go, "Oh, I'm not going to touch it." And my daughter done that with certain foods, but I think being consistent, again, it's about consistency, trying to bring the kids into the kitchen a little bit. Maybe it's doing the shopping list or cooking a recipe together. Getting them to be more adventurous is I think comes into it when you cook something together, they're more curious. But ultimately, it's about offering multiple things multiple times, right? If you give your kid boiled broccoli and they don't eat it, don't give up on broccoli. Roast it in the oven with some soy sauce and a bit of paprika or cumin, and it suddenly goes all crunchy and tasty and stuff. So it's like multiple things, and trying to remember that you're the chef. You decide what goes on the table. Yeah. I know it's hard, but one meal, one option, and that's it. And my kids have always had just one choice, so that's it. And obviously, if they're not hungry, I say, right, go and play for an hour, come back, and 9 times out of 10, they'll eat the food that they didn't eat an hour ago.
That's a good tactic, isn't it? That's a really good one. I mean, there's so much that we could talk about around screen time and all the rest of it, but we're going to jump to you on your phone.
Right, OK, yeah.
No, we're not
going to expose my screen time.
No. Because on Instagram, actually, you've said you're having a 4th baby and you want help naming the baby. Yes. Where are we with this, Joe?
Well,
what's the top 3 so far?
We've got an Indy, a Marley and a Lenny, so I like names that end in the E sound. Yeah. We've had some lovely ideas. We had Valley, Poppy, Daisy, River was a lovely name as well. Bonnie, loads of cute names, but we still haven't got one that I go, that's the one, do you know what I mean? So until the baby arrives, I'm not going to be too sure, but 7,000 names got put on that post, so I've got to go through it with Rose at the weekend and say, anything in there that we like and sort of get some ideas.
It's not a bad way of doing it.
I like River for a little boy.
Yeah, River's a beautiful name.
Yeah,
but I'm sure we'll get there. But I plan on having more kids, so any more ideas you've got, I'm bringing my way, send them over, yeah?
What, so you're not stopping at 4?
Well, I asked Rosie about it. I said, Rosie, you know you're pregnant now. Like, do you think this is the last time? She says, no way. I've got to do this another time, like at least one more time. So we're going for the 5th, I reckon.
Yeah.
You might need all those names. Thank you very much, Jo. And Jo's book, Fitter, Healthier, Happier, is out on Thursday.
Right then, still to come, we'll be talking to Ricky Tomlinson about reunited with Sue Johnston for a brand new show. But first, we're going to find out about the fascinating true life story of Rose Dugdale.
Yes, she's the English heiress who turned her back on her wealthy upbringing to join the IRA. And now her story has been turned into a film. But before we chat to Imogen Poots, who plays Rose, let's have a look at Baltimore.
What's your name?
Rose Dugdale.
Tell me, what makes you angry?
The class system. Rich people who have lots of things, and in contrast, people who don't have anything at all. This government has sanctioned internment in our names. We can't sit back and do nothing. We must act. So she isn't what she seems. Maybe that's what's so interesting about her. Where does all this anger come from? Is it really such a bad thing to be angry?
Please welcome Imogen Poots. Oh, Imogen, I watched this film last night and it's an incredible story, isn't it? Now, for those who haven't heard of Rose Dugdale, I hadn't until then, just give us a little flavour then of the type of woman she was.
So Rose Dugdale is actually still alive. She resides in Ireland.
Of course she is. I don't know why I say was. She is. She's about 80, isn't she?
She is, yes. She is. And in the 70s, as a young woman, she turned her back on a very affluent upbringing. She was one of the last debutantes to meet the Queen. And she was very passionate about the Republican movement in Ireland at the height of the Troubles. So that's what she turned her back to support. And she was affiliated with the IRA and engaged in acts of extremism. But our film focuses on an art heist whereby she stole works of arts by the great masters and held them hostage as a bartering tool in order to further her cause. But she employed really loony methods, like she had a wig and a kind of ropey French accent, and she pulled it off.
She did.
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
You mentioned that Rose is still alive, and when kind of like researching the role, I think naturally a lot of people may think that you went and spoke to Rose about kind of her decisions or kind of like why she did what she did essentially. But you decided not to kind of go down that road and do it yourself, didn't you?
Yeah, I feel like when there's the opportunity to meet someone you're going to play, it sort of depends what they've done with their life, and a political figure felt a little hairy to get involved with.
Well, she's obviously a force of nature as well, isn't she? So a little bit scared, I imagine.
Yeah, a little bit. And also because we wanted our story to be objective and, sort of tell it from the point of view of the heist. And I think the filmmakers were intrigued on sort of focusing on the sort of introspective, psychological landscape of her as a person. So that was our sort of entry point, and we just ran with that. I
hear you've got like your own appreciation for art, Imogen, but apparently you took this to a whole new level on set.
Well, it was really
tell us this.
Very alarming, because you're handed these replicas and they're pretty extraordinary because they're meant to look like a Vermeer painting or something, and the way they interact with the light. So you're sort of throwing these around the set and it's like, oh my God, don't hand me that. I don't want to handle this, But they're really, really realistic. So it's very alarming.
But worth zero is what you got told.
Worth zero. Yeah, maybe £5.
You made them look, though, priceless. It was brilliant. And you mentioned, of course, her attempt at this like French accent, to pull off the heist. Now, I thought your French accent wasn't ropey at all. It was absolutely amazing.
I know. Well, it's hard because I was supposed to be bad at it, but you want to be good at being bad at it.
Yeah, you can't be bad at it when you're an actor, though, because then you've got to think of your future job.
Yeah, exactly. I might want to play French people forever. I know. I had to think about all of that.
That's
no,
true.
it was very good. Are you any good at accents, Jo?
Well, funnily enough, I filmed with Blue Peter yesterday, and they made me go to a school to meet a superfan who did all my workouts, and she loved PE with Joe. And they made me dress as a janitor with a funny beard and a big wig and a big boiler suit, and I had to go in and pretend to fix the heating. And I walked in and was like, morning, I've come to fix boiler. Anyone got a brew? And after that, I sort of cracked and they realised it was me straight away. I couldn't give it away. I'm not very good at accents.
I thought that was all right, though.
Is that all right?
I can't even do Welsh, and I am Welsh.
Yeah, I didn't do very good. They clocked me straight away.
Yeah, not bad, that, Joe, not bad. Right, so man of the moment, Oscar winner, Cillian Murphy. We've got to talk about him because he was in 28 Days Later, wasn't he? You was in a sequel, weren't you?
Yes, the Wicks one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hear there may be a 28 Years Later coming out.
Right, yeah.
Would you be open to reprise the role?
Well, I loved working with that group of people. I mean, I jump at that. But I'm confused because if it's years later, then I suppose with the zombie apocalypse, everyone gets free Botox because otherwise we're all going to be looking ancient. Right?
I assume that's
maybe not him because he's an Oscar winner. Maybe you sort of retain a glow. I don't know.
28 Days Later was 2002. Do you know that? It's 22 years.
No, that's crazy.
So I was thinking, when was that? I watched it and I was thinking, I can't remember Cillian being in it, but obviously it was 22 years ago. I was like teenager. It was a long time ago.
That's pretty scary.
When was your sequel?
Thanks for that, Joe. Appreciate it.
That was 2007, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
Now we all feel really old.
And then you've got this other project as well with Kristen Stewart, and she's going to be directing her first feature film, isn't she? Can you tell us what it's about?
Oh, it's such a beautiful story. It's based on a book called The Chronology of Water.
Oh, yeah.
By a writer called Lydia Yuknavitch. And she was a swimmer and then went through and had an incredibly troubling life, which she's documented in this beautiful memoir. So we're adapting that. So I've started my swimming training, which is sort of challenging. You feel like you're really good at it under the water, and then you come up and your coach is like, you look wrong, you know? But I'm committed to it, so.
That is a big commitment.
Yes, and
Are you into
amazing.
swimming before this?
I had dabbled with it, but not to this extent. But I'm so excited to work with Kristen. I think she's just unbelievable. So
Lovely.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, Imogen. And Baltimore is in cinemas from the 22nd of March.
Time now to say hello to our next guest. It's another entertainer.
So
This
one of those
is going
days.
well. Entertainer to come out of Blackpool is Ricky Tomlinson.
Thank you.
Hello, Ricky.
Hiya.
Looking sharp, Ricky. I like
Very
it. Looking
sharp.
Well, it's my new image.
I like it.
I've always wanted to be a sex symbol.
Well, as it happens, you're back in Blackpool with a stage show, Irish Annie's, all about the Irish culture. And you were in Wrexham last night, weren't you?
Yeah.
And you were just saying how brilliant it went.
It was a full house at the William Ashton Hall. It was amazing. The lad who wrote it's a Liverpool Irish lad. And he's got about 4 or 5 brothers. And when he walk in the room, you don't have to ask them where they're from. The light goes out the room. They're massive. And he's wrote most of the music, all the stage plays. And we've sold out everywhere we've been. Everywhere been sold out. And we were there last night and we spend as much time after the show, in the foyer with photographs, autographs, selfies, because I think that goes with the show.
Yeah.
You can't just get people to come in, pay a few quid, see the show and then get off home.
That's great.
You've got to give a little bit back. Nice. And I think that's why it's been so successful. Yeah.
No, definitely. Well, you're a busy man at the minute.
Yeah,
aren't
I've
you,
been
Ricky?
very
You've
lucky,
also
lad.
been busy with your new travel show as well, with your TV wife, Sue Johnson, visiting places that mean a lot to you. But before we have a little chat about it, let's have a look.
He's Ricky Tomlinson.
And that's Sue Johnson. And we've been husband and wife on screen for over 40 years.
But despite all that time together, there's still a lot we don't know about each other.
So, we're hitting the road to visit a few places that shaped us for better or for worse.
You'll never know what I've gone through for you. Make me a happy man.
This is a lovely warm watch, and you start your travels in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And you and Sue go back to where it all started for you as a sort of a telly couple on the Brookside Close.
That's right.
And you actually met some fans there. Probably couldn't believe when they turned up.
There was people that come all the way from Scotland, and they have photographs taken at the street sign, Brookside. And me and Sue just turned up, and they went, oh my God. So we just got in with them, and they had a few photographs, and they were made up, you know. But I think it's lovely. People still go there after all this time.
Yeah.
But we did have a great time there, and the show, in a way, was pretty groundbreaking, you know.
Yeah, it was.
And people used to get really involved.
Yeah.
And there was a time in one of the episodes where I'm giving Sue a really bad time, and we used to get fan mail, and I got one letter, and it was so... It just said, you, Bobby Grant, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're treating your wife like that. You should be ashamed of yourself. And by the way, you've got the biggest squarest head on television. so I had to pin it up in the canteen. And everyone went round measuring my head.
Brilliant.
Oh, I love it. The stories just keep coming, don't they? I mean, you went to the Cavern Club, the famous Cavern Club, didn't you, when you was obviously in Liverpool?
Sue Johnson's a very, very good friend of Paul McCartney.
Well, this is where the story comes from.
Sue went out with one of the Swinging Blue Jeans for a while, you know.
Yeah.
And we can both jive, you know what I mean? It's a bit difficult now with the rheumatism, but we still have a little go.
But didn't she have like a recording that I think either Paul gave her or the Beatles?
Apparently she had a recording of a song or something, and then I think she taped over it something.
Oh, my word.
So.
What an error.
Yeah, it was honestly something like it would have been worth a fortune today.
Oh, dear.
I think she taped over it.
That's a shock.
I'm not sure, but she's great. We have a great time, honestly. And as I say, when we met, I'd done one thing, one job, and I bluffed my way into it, you know, for a movie with Roland Joffrey, and I told him to stick it. He upset me in the audition, you know. I said, stick it. And I walked, because I'd not long been out of jail, and I'd signed the audition form with a phony name.
All right.
And I went in, and he was winding me up in the audition, and I said, stick your movie. And I'm going down in the lift, it's LWT, and he's shouting, I know who you are, and I'm shouting, I know who you are, you're Ricky Tomlinson. And when I went down, we travelled down from Wrexham in a little post office van, me and my mate. And when I come down, he said to me, did you get the expenses? Because we had no petrol. So I had to go back up and knock on the door.
Oh, my goodness.
Say, what about these expenses?
Oh, God.
So they give me 20 quid and we got home. But the thing is, he just phoned me the next day. And I told him I'm a City and Guilds plasterer. I've done technical drawing and I've done all that. And he phoned the next day, his office phoned the next day and said, we want you to come to so-and-so and do a workshop for him. So I phoned me mate, who was an ex-seaman, called Tony Scogo. And I phoned him up and said, Tony, have you got the van with the sand and the mixer and all? He said, yeah. So we drove off to build a workshop. And I didn't know what a workshop was. And when I got there, we went into this place. There's Frankie Clark, Margie Clark, Alexander Pigg, Chris Bernard. And I said, what are you doing here? He said, we've come for the workshop. What are you doing? I've come to do it. Anyway, we done the audition and I was the only one out, the room packed. And he just said to me, if I give you a little job, he said, you won't let me down. If I give you a few lines, he said, I won't let you down.
That's great.
And that was the start of a relationship with Roland Joffrey, which was amazing.
Yeah,
he was wonderful. And when it went out, it was called United Kingdom. And I was the lead in it. I didn't know.
Massive.
I was the lead in it. They've never shown it since because it was so controversial. It was about civil unrest, you know. And they had these, there was a scene in it where there's a big fight at the end between us, we're not going to pay the rent increase, and they sent the police in. And they were knocking 7 bells out. It was these lads. And me and Scogo could have a little go in them days. I was only a young man. We're getting flattened, you know. I said to these fellas, you're the fittest extras I've ever worked with. He said, we're not extras. We're territorial army.
Oh, God.
They dressed them up as policemen and sent them in. They murdered us.
Ricky, the edit job on this programme must be immense. You're a brilliant storyteller. Thank you, but we're out of time. Ricky, Sue and a trip or two starts next Tuesday on More 4 at 9 o'clock, and tickets are available for Irish Anne.
They are indeed.
Push to watch all series of the Royal Family on BBC iPlayer. I think that's all we've got time for tonight, isn't it?
It is. Lauren and Anita Rani are here tomorrow with Jake Gyllenhaal and Daniela Melchior and the stars of the new Roadhouse movie. We'll see you then.
Good night.
Bye.